the hell have you done?
Scarlet, please, sit down.
Sit down! Do you think taking my children's going to stop me?
Stop you from doing what exactly?
Where did you take them?
This is far more important right now.
More important
We
than...
need stability. The country needs stability, and this act provides that. Work with me.
This country needs its freedom. Michael wouldn't have agreed to this. He's the one that started this act, and he did it...
Michael is dead. This country is a far different place than it was 3 years ago, Scarlet. There's rioting in the streets, for God's sake. We need tighter security now more than ever. People on our doorstep want to hurt us. I can't allow that.
That's not your decision to make. The people need to know that their government is lying to them, and you can't threaten me into silence on this.
You can't see this right now, but you don't have another choice here.
Charles?
Open the file.
Knowing what I know now, would I do it all again? Someone gets hurt either way, I suppose. But I did what I thought was right at the time. That's all anyone can do, isn't it? Mullen was terrible at remembering to lock windows. I wonder if he ever realised his role in all of this.
No floppy disks detected.
Keycards were beginning to restrict everyone's access. Having the correct level of security clearance was important. The guard patrol was quite loose at the facility, at least before all of this. They wouldn't be back anytime soon. Everything I needed was on that cartridge. The fate of a nation in ones and zeros.
No floppy disks detected. No floppy disks detected.
The Silhouette server housed hundreds of files on the Union Act, immigrant families, voting preferences, you name it. At that very moment, our lives changed forever.
Steve, I've had a security alert. I've paged you the location.
I didn't want security to see me up there. They were already on edge from the server blowing.
Scarlet. Well, what are you up to? Should you still be in here? I thought everyone was gone for the night. Come on, I think it's time for you to leave.
I have to say, I'm more than a little disappointed. I'm going to have to report you in the system. I'm sure you understand. Shouldn't you be leaving, Mrs. Carson?
The air smelt thick with something burning that night. Protesters were getting worse, even before what happened. As I walked further from the facility, I almost forgot how bad things were. The canal was always so peaceful. I remember someone listening to music on the canal boat. Funny. It wouldn't be safe to be out there now. The walk home usually helped me clear my mind after a day's work. That night was different. I was thinking about Michael, that he'd be sat at home waiting for me. There's so much to talk about. The pre-Union Act was tearing the city apart. It wouldn't be long before the whole country was rioting. At the time, I didn't feel like I could make a change.
Hey, all right, how you doing?
I didn't have a voice. The only way to stop the act from happening was to do something more radical, something, you know. I often wonder what he would have thought of me. I miss him more than you can ever know. He wasn't supposed to be. I didn't know. If I knew I was going to lose Michael, I'm so sorry, Michael. I just didn't know. That's why we're doing this.
Not a great deal
That's
can
why
be
you're
said in
doing
favour
this.
of the past two governments' policies when referring to the UK's outlook on foreign relations. For a second time, the public opinion poll has shown dissatisfaction and, dare I say it, contempt. I've said this 100 times, I'm sure, but so sorry for your loss. A toast to the man and the memory. I imagine you'll need to take some personal time. That's fine. Just take what you need. I'll handle everything on my end. I know you and I see differently on a few things, but this is a time for solidarity, not turmoil. Well, perhaps with all that's happened, we can finally work together. Deal with things head on. Nobody could have seen this coming, Scarlet. You mustn't blame yourself.
Harvey Miller, do you ever answer your phone? I've finished editing the introduction to the Bowman Carson piece you sent me. It's good, but I think we can do better. Alex Dubois has claimed that he wasn't at the facility at the time that they say he set off the explosion. He also says the phone records from the night prove it. Apparently, Detective Holden has them. Anyway, your first meeting is tomorrow. Find out everything you can. The phone records are a good start, but I have a feeling there's a bigger story here. Anyway, get some sleep and I'll be in touch tomorrow.
Harvey, your first meeting is with Carla Bowman. Get there an hour early so you have time to look around and gather questions for your meeting. Follow any leads you can for the Miller report. Good luck and don't trust anyone.
For all the gin joints and all the towns, you had to make my day, punk. How do I compare the... How do I compare the... How do I compare thee to a summer's day? Well, I don't see anyone else here, so you must be talking to me. How do I compare thee? How do I compare thee? Mr. Miller, is it? We weren't expecting you for another 20 minutes. Cut it out, man. Seriously, man? Welcome to Bowman. Hey, you need to leave that alone, right now. Welcome to Bowman, Carson. Welcome to Bowman, Carson. My name's Steve Crow. I hope it wasn't too hard to get through the protesting outside. If you don't mind, can you place your briefcase down on the conveyor belt there so I can check it for you? Okay, great. I just need to check through it. Sorry about this. Right, this all seems to be in order. Here's your ID badge. If you could just follow me to the security desk. Okay.
Ah, Mr. Miller. We didn't expect you so early. Let me just print your agenda. Give me a second. Your first is... speak of the devil. Carla, this is Mr. Miller from the Turing Post. You have a meeting today, I believe.
Yes, of course. A pleasure to meet you, Mr. Miller. Is it that time already?
No. Mr. Miller is just fashionably early.
Good. For a moment I thought I was running behind. I'll be ready in my office for our meeting as scheduled. I have to run, I'm afraid, but we'll speak soon. Thank you, Dan.
Righty-o, Carla. Right, here's your agenda. Great.
Why don't you read that over and put it in your briefcase for safekeeping?
I suppose that's everything from me. If you need anything further, you know where I am.
Steve, there's been an alarm set off. Can you go check it out?
What is it this time?
Doors closing. Doors opening. Everything dated the 10th of the 4th, 1987, the day of the attack, has been boxed and archived and still needs reviewing. The phone records were particularly interesting to me. I've looked through about 20% of all the files I've collated as of yet, and I'm not sure exactly how much more I'm going to find. I'm certain I'm on something big. I fear it's going to take me a lot longer than I have to find what I need.
Carla! Good day, man.
Hello, Steve.
Every time I see Mr. Bowman, he's miserable. Dude needs to lighten up.
Hey, Mr. Miller. Sir, you can't be here. Leave the area. Mr. Miller, there's a lot of sensitive information in here. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt this time, but in the future, please, just stay out.
Okay, that has to be something.
Floppy disk detected.
Going to the bathroom.
Carla, 10 days. 10 bloody days! How the hell could you have kept this from me? I swear to God, my family are going to be deported because of you and I could have done something about it. Why the hell didn't you tell me? Why the hell didn't you tell me? This is your fault. Everything that happens next is your fault.
Floppy disk detected. Floppy disk detected. Attention. Floppy disk detect. Attention. Floppy disk corrupted. Use Data Doctor to amend corrupted disks.
Steve, there's been an alarm set off. Can you go check it out?
Harvey. I've been going through more of Alex's interview tapes. I found something quite alarming that seems to have been very quickly dismissed. He says his keycard was stolen earlier on the day of the explosion. He said he tried to log it with Carla Bowman. I'm not sure how frequently she leaves her office, but if you can somehow gain access, you may be able to find evidence linking her to Alex's keycard.
Could all visitors and employees please note?
No floppy disks detected. No floppy disks detected. Please enter PIN. Code accepted. No floppy access disks granted. Detected. No floppy disks detected. Please enter PIN. Code accepted. Access granted.
Hello, Mr. Miller. Please come in and take a seat. So I gather you've got some questions you'd like to ask me. I'll do my best to answer them. Shall we begin? He thinks I'm lying. That's not really news, Mr. Miller. I think anyone in the country could have told you what Alex thinks about what we do here. He has a twisted view of things. Out of curiosity, what is it he thinks is so bad about the act? Well, this is getting far-fetched. And I suppose I'm the one lying to the country. Don't answer that. I'm sorry, but I have to deal with this kind of accusation day in and day out. I guess it's an occupational necessity. If by propaganda you mean the important work I do here, then I'd ask you to be a little bit more respectful of the current political climate, Mr. Miller. We are very thorough with our work here, so I'm sure whatever you think you found will be easily cleared up. I make the posters and advertising materials, but I'm not in charge of the figures that make them up. For that, you'd have to speak to someone like Chance Crow over in the Metacentre. Let me ask you something, Mr. Miller. You've heard the protesters, you've seen our work here. Do you believe the Union Act is good? Frankly, I'm fed up of having to defend my views on the matter. I'm sure you're going to write a very compelling story about us, whichever side you choose to fall on. I hope you realise that misleading the country is the easiest way to pull it apart. I don't believe that's what I'm doing, and I'm sure you don't either. Let's hope you have a productive afternoon here and can see what it is we're trying to create. That poster is designed to inspire the people into believing. I'm sorry, I'm not going to play this game. I'm good at what I do, and that's that. I believe I've said all I have to on the matter. A vendetta against him? Well, that was blunt, but honestly, I'm not surprised. I wondered if you'd bring this up. It's rather troubling, but Alex and I never seemed to get on. And on the night of the attack, he threatened me. I didn't want to make this publicly personal, but it looks like he has anyway. Yes, he left me a voice message. He was very angry about something, and he took it out on me that night. I have no doubts in my mind that man is guilty of everything they say he did. And I'm frankly amazed that anyone would stand up for him. No offence. Well, you have done your research. I feel bad for what happened to Alex. I really do, but I can't be held responsible for every little action taken. It may have sounded like Alex was the victim, but I can assure you, I felt very threatened by his message. You heard what he said. Everything that happens next is because of me. And we all know what happened next. Well, you don't sugarcoat your words, Mr. Miller. But tell me, what do you think about it?
So you think I'm overreacting to his message? Perhaps. Should we move on? Is that what he said? That his keycard was stolen? Well, I don't think there's any way I could confirm or deny that for you, Mr. Miller. I'm not even sure what that would have to do with me. I don't believe it was stolen, so it would be futile for me to try and answer that. We were all responsible for our own key cards and security logins. Actual keys aren't used in this part of the building. It's all very cutting edge, so anything like that would have been solely down to Alex. That just seems like conjecture to me, Mr. Miller. It sounds far too convenient to say that he logged it as stolen on the day that it happened. If that's true, then where did he log it? At what time? Wouldn't security know about that? I'm sorry, but it's all a little too convenient for me. I don't remember that at all, I can assure you. That email must have gone through to my inbox just after I had the chance to see it. I believe that your research is accurate, I honestly do, but there's no way of knowing now if it was filed. Honestly, it's escaped my memory, and all of the records were destroyed in the blast, so... It appears that he might be, at least about that, but I ask you, what does that really prove? Or that he was clever enough to cover his tracks before he committed a terrible act of terrorism. You may find this a hot topic for your book, Mr. Miller, but I'm not convinced at all. I would be careful who you share this information with, Mr. Miller. He says he wasn't in the building. Well, I don't know how he'd be able to back up that claim. The police found him not too far away from here, that's true, but it was within walking distance. He could have easily got where he did in time, and there's a whole bunch of other evidence. I'm sorry, I just don't see how he thinks that's going to hold any weight. Like who? No, I don't think so. I think it's quite cut and dry. I can't imagine someone else over in the Metacentre doing it. They like to sound like they know what they're doing, but most of them are incompetent. I know for a fact that some of them use their room number for their alarm code, for God's sake. Does that sound convincing to you? Alex was the only one who really knew what he was doing, and anyway, it's like I said, there was more evidence, wasn't there? Well, for example, the argument we had the night of the attack. Alex and I were having a heated discussion that night. I know that's somewhat anecdotal, but to me it's as good as gold in terms of evidence. Wouldn't you agree? That must be a mistake, surely. I was sure... Maybe now that I think about it, I mean, that could have been earlier, perhaps. So, he was calling from outside the facility. It's hard to remember that night clearly now, but there it is. I'm sorry you think that. I wish you'd known him the way I did. Then there might be less doubt in your mind. It's easy, isn't it, to confuse things. As we've said, it was some time ago, so it's easy to forget the finer details.
Nothing comes to mind. Excuse me, what? I didn't say anything about an alarm code. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I must have misspoken. Everyone in the Metacentre is very careful with their security. I wouldn't... well, let's not dwell on that. No, it was another office. Can we please move on to a different subject, Mr. Miller? Don't you have something about my work that you'd like to ask at all? Did I? A few things around here probably still use keys. It's outdated if you ask me. You won't find anything in the facility that uses them, though. Our security protocol won't allow them. But I think the older areas still have the old-fashioned key and lock. No. Marlon Thornton, the cleaner, he's the only person who uses them for stock rooms and locker rooms, you know. Oh, that reminds me. If you're over at the Metacentre later, you should take a look at the old Victorian baths. They're going to be knocked down soon, so you should take a look there before you go. No? They're just quite nice. I tell you what, I'll ask Marlon to open them up for you later on. If he's got time, then they'll be open for you when you go and have your meeting with Chance Crow. Anyway, okay, Mr. Miller, that's all I've got time for, I'm afraid. Can you please see yourself out?
Hi, I'm home.
Because we don't want our hands tied by the law every time we have to make a decision. But it won't be long. Just remember one. The world is changing around us. I agree. I have no idea why you're still wearing the same clothes you were wearing in the 70s. I'm not going to change your mind on this, am I?
Molly, you'd better be in bed when I get up there.
Coop, will you talk some sense into your husband, please?
Well, I'm staying out of this one.
Right, on that note, I'll see myself out.
You and Carol still here for Sunday dinner?
Don't forget to pass that folder on to Sarah in the morning, okay?
Wouldn't miss it.
Well, Mr. Miller, thank you for being so respectful of the rules in our facility. You wouldn't believe the amount of people we have to tell to leave staff-only areas. I hope your meeting with Miss Bowman was productive. Your next meeting is with Chance Crow very soon. Feel free to take a wander around in our gardens. I'll be waiting for you over in the Metacentre when you're ready to begin.
Right. I know most people couldn't be here today as it's the weekend, but I just want to thank everybody who was able to make it in. I guess I should start by saying that we will not be intimidated, that we will not stand without a fight. The people who stand against us, they don't want change. In fact, they fear it, and they won't stop until we fear it too. I'd also have to say that sorry. I have a letter here from Mrs. Foster. Many of you may have known her son, who was sadly lost in the attack. She writes, "My son was many things to me, and to those who knew him best. A loving brother, a good friend, and someone to make you laugh when times were at their hardest. I do not know all of you the way my beloved son did, but I like to think that all the things I saw in him, you also saw on a daily basis. Aaron wasn't the only person to be taken in that blast, but he is the only one I can talk about with any certainty. And that is to say this. He died knowing that every one of his colleagues will not let his death be in vain. But the family he raised will not live in a world devoid of presence. That his deeds whilst alive will live on through all of us in his death. And that we would not falter to do justice to his memory. To the memories of all the families affected in this terrible time. I do not know all of you the way my beloved son, but I think fondly of you all, and I cherish the kindness you shown on me. Now, if we could all bow our heads, we'll observe a moment of silence.
Photo was taken the day before it all happened. How fragile a life can be. It can all shatter in an instant. The server room that held all the information, destroyed. If only it had been that easy. Dust was caked to every surface. See anything. There were no obvious paths to take me to where Michael had been found. What was Michael even doing in there? He shouldn't have been. He should have come home from work, put Molly to sleep, and we should have been eating a curry on the sofa with a glass of wine, for God's sake. Understand it at the time. How would it come to this? We were talking about the future. That seems so stupid now, doesn't it? There's no way I could have known. This would hopefully help me find my way a little better. Lives lost. James, he was round for dinner with Amy just 2 days before all this happened. Jake, Andrew, so much fun making forts in the basement. Tigers stalking in the long grass. Entire floors torn into one another. I saw it. Below me. The room they said Michael was found in. Did I cause this?
Magnetic data found.
Lives ruined. Torn. They woke up that morning, went to work and never returned. Michael's towel still sat on the floor where he left it. I can't bear to pick it up. He should be the one doing it.
Magnetic data found.
I always told him to clean up after himself, but he never listened. Theirs were blown out. Pushed and clawed my way through. I had to see it. I had to see where he... I climbed. A nail, it tore my jumper. Can you believe it? My husband was found in the room next door, and for a split second, I actually paused to care about a torn jumper. Trapped. No exit. And they said all the metal was burning hot. Did he suffer? That's the not knowing, isn't it? That's what really haunts you. The Silhouette server. Somehow it had survived the blast. The irony of it wasn't lost on me. The disc was lodged in the pneumatic system. I thought about Michael. In his last moments, struggling to get to it. He knew that was the key to prevent the overheating. He had no hope of reaching the fuse box. Pulling the cartridge out took me back to that night. The deep thud. Loss of power. Loss of hope. The police say that the building was unstable. The paramedics weren't allowed in for days. miracle twice was almost too much to bear.
Apparently, security is tight in the Metacentre, so your second meeting might be a little harder. Try and give yourself another hour to prepare if you have the time. Alex Dubois worked for Chance Crow, so find out what he knows. Don't let me down.
Harvey, as you know, we've had lots of people calling up Gale and claiming they have information on who caused the explosion at the Bowman Carson building. We had one just a few minutes ago which seems to hold some weight. A family member of one of the workers killed in the explosion mentioned that they were at a tour this morning where you are right now. Have you seen any evidence of this? If you can find any evidence at all of a cover-up, please keep it with you. Again, it seems very conspiracy theory, but you never know. Chat soon.
Immigrant crisis they're all harping on about.
No. It was safe. Watch out.
It's a heavy topic, Steve. How many grints have you actually seen robbing or vandaling in the streets? None. That's how. And you think you couldn't leave the house at night? And you know what? If you don't want the French here, then put down your bloody big X. You know what I mean? Eesh.
I'll go over there.
That's another one. All the nice cheese. Half the word you use every day. All them half. I don't need to read.
No floppy disks detected. No floppy disks detected. No floppy disks detected. No floppy disks detected.
you what's in my safe. Forget it. No. Safe. Watch out, it might fall. I hid the report in the safe. You got me. Yeah. I hid the report. I didn't mean to kill him. I can't live with myself. Don't go.
Sir, what are you doing?
It's not safe. Get down.
Doors closing. Doors opening. Doors closing. Well, here's where I'm getting lost, Mr. Bowman. Mrs. Carson tells me that she did talk to you about Alex Dubois, that he'd come to her asking for help, and that you knew how unstable he was.
I had no way of knowing what was in his mind.
Didn't you trust Scarlet's opinion?
It's not like that. We haven't agreed on many things for a long while now. I had no reason to think there was anything wrong, because Scarlet overreacts to most conversations we have. Her interests were different from that.
All right, lad.
Doors closing. Doors opening.
Just like a cassette, baby, you run me up like crazy. I turn around and start again. Wrap tape around my heart, side A is just the start. Can't wait to hit record again. When I'm rolling down a path with a sneaker.
Another alarm? Dan, I think somebody may be around here. I'll let you know. Out. Seriously. Listen, Mr. Miller, I know this probably has nothing to do with you, but there was an alarm that went off earlier on, so if you could just make sure to stay in the allocated areas, that would be great.
Harvey, in one of Alex Dubois' interview tapes, he mentions that every computer in the Metacentre has an encrypted document called Silhouette, which can be used as a key for something. I didn't quite follow what he meant, but I believe that it will be a good starting point to open some leads. Try and get onto a computer and print a document called DSC. Once you have the document printed, fax it across to me. I'll be in touch if I find anything else.
What am I doing with my life?
Doors closing. Doors opening. Doors closing. Floppy disk detected. Attention, floppy disk corrupted. Use Data Doctor to amend corrupted disks.
So,
Do you mind if I smoke?
go ahead.
No floppy disks
So,
detected.
Let's start at
No
the beginning,
floppy
shall we?
disks detected.
What can you tell me about Alex Dubois?
What would you like to know?
Well, perhaps we should start with how he was able to gain access to a restricted part of your facility and detonate a device killing several people. I know you're used to being on the other side of the table. I'm get it. The quicker you give me what I need, the quicker.
Look, Mr. Dubois was difficult. You've read the papers, you know the story.
No floppy disks detected. No floppy disks detected. No floppy disks detected. No floppy disks detected.
There should be that. Not all activities without question. Perhaps you should speak to Sarah Smith about it.
She told us the same.
No floppy disks detected. No floppy disks detected. No floppy disks detected. No floppy disks detected.
What was that?
I can see you. Mr. Miller, what the hell are you doing in here? One chance. Get out.
Floppy disk detected. Attention. Floppy disk corrupted. Use Data Doctor to amend corrupted disks. No floppy disks detected. No floppy disks
Thanks.
detected.
Please don't do that again. I can still hear their voices coming down the corridor.
Floppy disk detected. Attention. Floppy disk corrupted. Use Data Doctor to amend corrupted disks.
If you've just joined us, then welcome to the Smooth Room, keeping things smooth with a mix of pieces from the early to mid-Romantic period. This is called...
Floppy disk detect. Attention. Floppy disk corrupted. Use Data Doctor to amend corrupted disks. Doors closing.
Need your clothes, your keys, and your motorcycle. Man, I'm good.
I love you. Amy, it's true. And when I'm next to you, I don't feel blue. When we're together. Amy, I love you. Amy, it's true. And when I'm next to you, I don't feel blue. When we're together, time just stands still. And I want to ask you, so I think I will. Will you go to dinner? Dinner with me?
Simple or complicated. I want to close the book on it and move on.
We do want the same thing. Look, Scarlet thinks I'm a racist. She blames me for most things these days. She's far too detached from the reality of things.
Are you a racist, Mr. Bowman?
I believe in what I'm doing. Quite frankly, I don't care how you perceive that.
So you believe in arresting, how did the Turing Post put it? Grints for the security of the nation.
I hate that word. And the Turing Post for that matter.
But you don't hate immigrants?
Of course not. I pity them, I suppose.
Did you pity Mr. Dubois' family? Did Mrs. Carson come to you about Alex Dubois? Did she know something was going to happen?
Nobody could have known this would happen.
Did she suspect something was wrong?
Scarlet's a cynical person. That's a part of who she is.
I have to say, I find you to be a particularly evasive person, Mr. Bowman.
Look, if you want to ask me if I had anything to do with it, then bloody ask. Everything else is, quite frankly, asinine. Yes, I was close to Scarlet. Yes, I knew her husband. No, we didn't see eye to eye on many things. And she probably blames me every day of her life for things that were out of both of our control. So, if you're going to ask me, then just ask. Ask me if I had something to do with it.
Hello, Mr. Miller. Right on time.
This little piece pretty much speaks for itself. I'm not glad you're listening to this.
I don't know why you want to talk to me, but I've been told I have to accommodate you. I do hope you have something interesting to ask. This is Miss Allison Whitworth. I'll be translating for you if you have any questions for her. Should we just get on with it? What's Bowman's role in all of this? Or what's Bowman like as a person? That's what you really want to ask, right? Well, I'm not going to get into details, but he's basically the commander-in-chief. If it wasn't for him, none of this would be happening. All of the software, all of the Union Ag promotion, it all starts here. Charles Bowman created all of it. Well, yeah, sure, but I don't want to talk about that. After. Well, he died in the explosion. I'm sure you know all of this. But Bowman was the one who really held it all together. His company's grown exponentially since he took over, and we're all grateful. Well, enough not to want to tarnish his memory, Mr. Miller. Next question. I do. I'm basically second in command now, so I have a lot of responsibilities. The company has a more singular set of goals now, and I'm happy to be a part of that. About the company? Sure. I wouldn't be very good at my job if I didn't. would I? Excuse me, Mr. Miller. What the hell are you talking about? That's an extraordinarily offensive thing to ask. Not to mention out of left field. Nobody here is a racist. Where the hell did you get off asking something like that? Well, that's the first I've heard of it. But if that's what he said, then he spared us from having to hear it. Until now, anyway. I feel you can guess my stance on the matter. Out of interest, who's made that accusation? Couldn't or won't? You know what? I actually do want to find out the answer to that. I'm not comfortable continuing this line of questioning, Mr. Miller. Well, I'm sure he's got a very good reason for keeping it to himself. The company's policies are complex. I wouldn't expect you to get it. You're writing this for your book or report or whatever, right? Well, I want this part of the meeting stricken from the record, please. It's a piece of software. We call it Digital Shadow Casting, DSC for short. Silhouette is its working title. Sorry, I know not everybody talks nerd, but do you understand technology, or you want me to elaborate a little? Sure. It installs a background OS that copies any and all information used on a computer. After a certain amount of data is gathered, or after a certain time, the data is packaged and sent to the Silhouette server in the basement, where we collate and serialize the data however we'd like. We have an algorithm that can highlight pertinent tagged matches, commerce, economics, political values, home living, etc. We sort it all and then macroanalyze the nation's preferences. It's pretty amazing, really, and we're the first company to make use of the tech. What did you think we did here? I mean, really, it's all written in black and white. The Union Act, Mr. Miller. The country is about to vote it in. Well, yeah, part of it, sure. You'd have to read the Union Act for yourself. I'm not a lawyer or a politician, Mr. Miller. It's not something I'm happy getting into. It's all legal. The Union Act is a contract. If people want it, they vote for it. Other than that, I just do my job and try to keep my head down. How so? That's because they're focused on immigration. They really shouldn't be. I mean, we gather information on people in the system. If they're not a part of the system, if they don't have a national insurance number, there's nothing to gather. It's just common sense. You can't crunch the data if you can't gather it. But the act is so much bigger than that. You read the news and everyone thinks we're... The immigrant problem is just a small byproduct of the act. Processing data is what it's really all about. And the silhouette is how we do that. Trust the news to completely miss the point. That's a very crude way of putting it. But that's the basic idea, sure. We're not getting away with anything. We're doing our jobs. Speaking for myself, I'm not here to school the mob outside on what I do for a living. I see them every day, screaming, shouting, hurling objects at my staff. They can't be reasoned with. They can't be made to understand because they've already made up their minds. And the newspapers haven't cottoned on either. It's not my fault. And it sure as hell is not my problem. I'm saying I'm not responsible. That's very different. Now, shall we move on? About the explosion? Well, pretty much what everyone else knows about it. I don't really know what you want me to say. You must know everything that I do. I was having a smoke in the courtyard. Luckily, I wasn't close enough to the blast, but I saw the whole thing. Probably in her office. Room 105. Anything else, Mr. Miller? Well, nothing. We weren't allowed back into the premises for over a week. Even then, only a handful of us were here to make sure things carried on running. The police were still here, and a detective was snooping around. I couldn't do anything without someone watching over me, or telling me to log what I was doing. Whatever they found, they didn't share it with me. I read it in the paper like everyone else. Some kind of bomb, I guess, on the gas lines. At least that's what the news said. We have a report of the official findings downstairs somewhere. Don't you believe me? Yeah, basically the gas line. She says he wrote some kind of code that overheated the servers, she thinks. He was a talented coder, much as I hate to admit it. He found out that the servers were close to a gas line that came from an external propane store and, well, you know the rest. What? What? Where did you get that? I thought the police had taken all of the archive data for their investigation. So, the servers had been overheating for almost a year. How was this a thing without me knowing about it? Right. So, couldn't he have been making them overheat for nearly a year? Isn't that the same thing? He wrote some bad code and waited it out. I don't see how that's any different. Either way, Alex found a way to blow up the servers and get vengeance for his family. Ah. Okay. I see your point. So, then maybe he... I can't wrap my head around this. I know Alex did it, so this must be some kind of... I don't know. A moment ago, you were probably wondering if I did it, weren't you? Look, I can't talk for anyone else, but I don't know what to say. This changes a few things. Are you just trying to catch me out? Or do you actually care about this, Mr. Miller? You want to ask me about Carla's answer machine. I have no idea what you're... That means nothing to me. Oh, what do you need to know? Sounds ominous. Has Carla done something wrong? From the night it happened? Right, that is something. Listen, between you and me, Allie's one of the good guys. Try not to involve her in something bad. Fine. I'll ask, but don't push it. What do you want me to say? Nice and simple. She says no. Just that. She's telling the truth. Obviously, she didn't hear it either. Yeah, no, she says it was definitely broken, so there was nothing to hear. No, she would have said. Are you trying to find out what the answer machine said or something? Oh. And is she? A little backhanded, if I'm honest. I'm not sure I approve of your technique. Shall we move on? I'm not sure if that's a question or... Well, people are scared of things they don't understand. That's all. I think the key thing to take from this is that if you want to make the country better, then you can't be frightened to offend a few minorities. That's the best way I can put it. what doesn't offend them. The most common thing I hear is that people are going to be kicked out of the country. Now, I can't help that from happening, so I try to avoid letting it affect my work. But I hear it over and over, like no one wants to admit the border control problem. Let me put it like this. You leave your window open in your house one summer's day and a whole bunch of flies come in. You try to remove them, but the flies are coming in faster than you can get them out. Do you want to keep trying to catch the flies, Mr. Miller? Or do you perhaps want to think about shutting the window? Exactly. And if we let more in than we can manage, then our larger goals won't be as effective. I knew you'd understand.
Excuse me, Mr. Crow. I need to have a word with you.
Can it wait, Dan? I'm in the middle of something here.
I'm aware of that. That's what I want to talk to you about.
Right. Why are you here? Right. It's come to my attention that you may have been collecting sensitive information in that briefcase of yours. I'm gonna need you to hand them over, please. I'm gonna pass them along to Charles Bowman, and when or if you have your meeting, he can decide what he wants to do with them.
Steve, please take Mr. Miller's belongings over to Mr. Bowman's office.
Sorry about this.
Oh, and we'll also need that dossier of yours. Right. Well, Mr. Miller, it seems as though this meeting is over. I'll look forward to hearing what Charles Bowman has to say about what you've been up to. Get him out of my sight.
Right, Mr. Miller. Let's go.
Keep it down, Charles. You wake the children.
I don't see what you're going to achieve by keeping your share. Why not just sign it over to me? We both want the same thing here.
We don't want the same thing, though, do we? You don't mind if hundreds of people lose their home in the process?
Yes.
No, there's no grey here. There's a very clear answer.
I don't believe that.
Charles, voice.
I don't believe that. What are you going to do when there are protests calling for this company's dismantling? What will you do then? Oh, maybe you always wanted this to fail. You're risking jeopardizing all of Michael's work. You always resented him for working such long hours. If he wasn't trying to get the changes you wanted in, then he'd probably still be here. Look.
Get out. Miller, it's Scarlet Carson. Don't talk, just listen. We've not got much time. Get yourself into the IPA Building. There's something I want you to see. I'll explain more when you're in. Hello, Mr. Miller. You may have guessed already, but I've been following your investigation throughout the day. I wanted to get in touch sooner, but I could never find the right moment.
Detective Holden, the time is 5:30 p.m. on June 17th, 1987. They say Alex Dubois entered through here on the night of the 10th of April. Daniel Hilburn informed me that security was busy locking up in the Bowman building for the night, so he had the building to himself. Alex's claim is that he can prove he wasn't using his keycard in the building that night, and that he was there for a meeting with Sarah Smith, the head of the IPA. If I can locate the record, that at least gives me a bit of evidence to work with. Alex claims that Dan always keeps a copy of the safe code written on the back of a coupon for gardening equipment close by to his desk, so...
No floppy disks detected. I'm sure you've heard enough about Alex Dubois by now. I saw him earlier that evening. He was acting very erratic. He wasn't doing himself any favors. It was far too believable that he could have done it. Even I wondered whether Alex was capable of doing something like that.
Detective Holden, the time is 6:45 a.m. on June 20th. Something was troubling me last night, so I wanted to get an early start. I interviewed Alison Whitworth yesterday, and it seems as though something was being held back. We were communicating through Chance Crow, the department head of the Metacentre, who I have yet to interview. However, from her posture and hesitant responses, it seems as though the full story wasn't quite being told. This led me back to her office. Detective Holden, the time is 9:23 a.m. on June 20th. I've spent the last few hours looking at all of her work, and at a glance, it looks like a repair shop, but she's actually a talented inventor. It really is fascinating stuff. Something that caught my eye, though, is that it seems she's been working on an algorithm with
rooms in the Bowman Building for the Silhouette software which could prevent overheating. This, of course, was a large contributing factor in the explosion caused on the 10th of April 1987.
No floppy disks detected.
You have to believe me, Mr. Miller. If I'd known, I would never have taken his ID card that night. I needed it to finish up some work, and I'd misplaced mine. Technically against company policy, but I didn't think he'd mind. But once the information got out there, he'd been involved where he shouldn't have been.
Detective Holden, 10:42 a.m. on June 20th. I promised myself I wouldn't get involved with the politics here, but it's impossible not to let it affect you. Names, numbers, all written down, just thousands of people's futures decided by this one company. How are they allowed so much control with? Anyway, I'm here to locate Alex Dubois' file. I was told it could be found in filing cabinet HG02, row 10. I can't see anything in here. Let's get a bit of light on the situation. Okay, I have the documented information. I believe I just need to compile the code on the large machine in the corner of the room. So, here goes.
The devastation it caused, the political unrest. People are heartbroken and angry about how it's all unfolding, rightly so in my mind. I just said that. It goes to show how it works.
Detective Holden, 10:10 p.m. on June 25th. I think I've just about figured it out. The issue is that each time I copy a file onto the disk, the contents become corrupted whilst going through the data wipe gates. Meaning I have to go back and copy the files again. The location is...
No floppy disks detected.
I've got my first scheduled meeting with Scarlet Carson in an hour, so if I'm going to get over to her house, I'd better leave now. I'll make a note to inquire about this.
Alex's poor family. No, I had no involvement in their deportation. It was all Charles Bowman's doing. How he didn't think Alex would find out is beyond me. Banning people from the country, for God's sake. I just couldn't go along with it anymore. I lost a lot that night. So I can relate to what Alex was going through. There should be a disk named Silhouette. If you insert it into the server and clear the records, anyone who has private information on the IPA server will be removed. You'll be saving countless people. Harvey, we have the chance to save a lot of people. You might not get another shot at this. You only have one chance before security come and find you there. Harvey, you did it. You have no idea. I was right about you. I knew you'd do the right thing.
Steve, I've had a security alert. I've paged you the location.
Changes nothing. What happened, happened. And thankfully, you removed the last remaining evidence that could tie anything back to me. The Silhouette disc. So, I appreciate your help with that. We have 30 minutes. See you after meeting.
Just like a cassette, baby, you wind me up like crazy. I turn around and start again. Wrap tape around just the start. Can't wait to hit record again. When I'm running down my park with my sneaker.
Oh, Charles. What are you doing here?
Please sit down, Scarlet.
Charles? Oh, wait. Where's... No. No, you wouldn't. What the hell have you done?
Scarlet, please, sit down.
Sit down! Do you think taking my children's going to stop me?
Stop you from doing what exactly?
Where did you take them?
This is far more important right now.
More important
We
than...
need stability. The country needs stability, and this act provides that. Work with me.
This country needs its freedom. Michael wouldn't have agreed to this. He's the one that started this act, and he did it...
Michael is dead. This country's a far different place than it was 3 years ago, Scarlet. There's rioting in the streets, for God's sake. We need tighter security now more than ever. People on our doorstep want to hurt us. I can't allow that.
That's not your decision to make. The people need to know that their government is lying to them, and you can't threaten me into silence on this.
You can't see this right now, but you don't have another choice here.
Charles?
Open the file.
Is anyone in here? If you're in there, you gotta come out. You can't be here, sir. I'm sorry, Mr. Miller, we can't keep doing this. You have to...
Hello, Mr. Miller. You have a meeting with Charles Bowman on floor 3. I'm sure you know the drill by now. That'll be all.
Harvey, we've lost everything. I'm not quite sure what the plan should be now. You're in the building where they house all the information, right? Do you remember in our reports, it mentioned that Scarlet Carson was trying to steal the information on the night of the 10th of April? I mean, we could try and do the same? It's putting ourselves at a bit of a risk, but what do we have to lose at this point? We're just gonna have to copy all the files we can and sort through all the data to hopefully salvage our report that way. Maybe even use it as a bargaining chip with Charles Bowman. If we can't question Charles Bowman, you're gonna have to go to Scarlet Carson's house to get her side of the story and complete the report.
No floppy
I've had a
disks
security
detected.
alert. I've paged you the location.
No floppy disks detected. 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 No floppy disks detected.
Access granted.
No floppy disks detected. No floppy disks detected.
Dan, I think somebody may be around here. I'll let you know. If you're in there, you gotta come out.
No floppy disks detected. No floppy disks detected.
Out. Seriously.
No floppy disks detected. No floppy disks detected. floppy disks detected. No floppy disks detected.
$20. 15.
How big is the location?
I've been going through more of Alex's interview tapes. I found something quite alarming that seems to have been very quickly dismissed. He says his key card was stolen earlier on the day of the explosion.
Well, you have done your research. I feel bad for what happened to Alex. I really do, but I can't be held responsible for every little action taken. It may have sounded like Alex was the victim, but I can assure you, I felt very threatened by his message. You heard what he said. Everything that happens next is because of me, and we all know what happened next.
Just common sense. You can't crunch the data if you can't gather it. But the act is so much bigger than that. The immigrant problem is just a small byproduct of the act. Processing data is what it's really all about. And the silhouette is how we do that. What is it you think you know? You seem to have it all figured out.
You'd pick up. I don't have much time. He's just outside smoking at the moment. Please, if you got the files, don't do it. I have a computer in my basement with a press release ready to go out with the encrypted documents. Before you get here, go to the left side of my house. I'll have the basement window open. All you have to do is insert the cartridge and press upload. We have to prevent this act from passing. And you hold the key. Oh, crap, he's coming back.
Well, I don't suppose this will matter once she's sold all of her shares. She doesn't seem to want anything more to do with the Union Act or the Bowman Carson facility.
What do you mean by that?
She didn't tell you? Michael left his share of the company to Scarlet. That, with her 5% share, makes her the controlling factor, doesn't it?
What exactly is it that you think I have to do with this, detective? Look, Scarlet thinks I'm a racist. She blames me for most things these days, so she's far too detached from the reality of things. I don't think she's capable of something so terrible. That being said, I didn't think Alex was either, so how wrong can you be? Ah, Mr. Miller. I didn't see you come in. We've been expecting you for quite some time.
Harvey, this is Charles Bowman, the man who seems to have taken your dossier.
Now, there's not much to go on from in here, so you must be hiding something else, if you are the journalist we believed you to be.
Harvey, did you do it?
What a curious question. I must ask. What's your decision, Mr. Miller?
Harvey, I meant what I said to you. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. If you hand that over to Charles, you'll lose everything you've been working for. Do you really want that to happen?
As you can see, Mrs. Carson and I haven't been able to agree for quite some time, and we seem to have reached a stalemate. I'm afraid it's time to choose a side. I have to say, I didn't expect that from a capable journalist like yourself. Yes. Yes. Right. I see. Well, that is disappointing. No, thank you. Yes. So, it seems as though you've chosen your side. Oh, and your children are fine. You know I'd never harm them. Carol's been looking after them all day. I can't believe you'd think that of me.
Knowing what I know now, would I do it all again? I still have so many regrets. I'm so sorry, Alex. It was all for the greater cause. I hope you understand. I could have saved you. I should have. I'm so sorry, my love. You may never remember everything that happened. You were just a child, but you'll be growing up in a better world. That much I know is true. I guess I can put all this in the rubbish now. Everything's said and done. One thing that won't change is Sophia's taste in music. Such a talented artist.
Mrs. Carson, sorry to call
safe.
you at such a late hour.
That's all you need to know.
Technically,
The country is
I'm not
safe,
supposed to be
and so
talking
are
to you
you.
whilst the trial is on, but something's been on my mind which I can't shake. If you could call me back at your earliest convenience, I'd be grateful if we could discuss
If I could do
this
it all
further.
differently, I would. I'd say for you in a heartbeat. Do I keep the jumper to remember that terrible place? Or fix it? Sewing over the past.
You have one new message. Message 1.
Mrs. Carson, sorry to call you at such a late hour, but technically I'm not supposed to be talking to you whilst the trial is on, but something's been on my mind which... Mrs. Carson, sorry to call you at such a late hour, but technically I'm not supposed to be talking to you whilst the trial is on, but something's been on my mind which I can't shake. If you could call me back at your earliest convenience, I'd be grateful if we could discuss this further.
Okay, here goes.
I can't believe that there's someone better than me singing. I don't want you. I don't want you. I can't believe that it does something that I don't believe. I don't want to. I don't want to. I give you everything, babe, that I could give. Now why do I care? Hell, if you shoot me down, girl, you don't need some ammo in your gun. If you shoot me down, girl, you need some ammo in your gun. Girl, you're gonna need some love. You're gonna need, girl, you're gonna need some love in your gun. Girl, you're gonna need some love in your gun. Girl, you're gonna need some love in your gun.
And take your best shot. Man, this job sucks. I should start a band.